Hi everyone, welcome to the Spencer Lodge podcast in partnership with fantastic Najahi. So I'm very pleased to say we now have a sponsor for the podcast, and only after 6 months of putting it together. So Najahi, they're a famous events company here in the UAE, and they bring big celebrities here that can add value to people's lives. So guess who's coming next? Tony Robbins, and they'll be bringing him. And if you haven't got your tickets yet for when Tony comes in September at the Coca-Cola Arena, I suggest you go and get them very quickly because they're selling out fast. All right, in this episode of the podcast, I got the chance to interview the accidental superstar on social media, Rawan Bin Hussein, a young lady from Kuwait who really did become a social media star by accident and has turned it into a thriving business. But before I ramble on and tell you way too much, cue the music and let's get on with it. Thank you for coming on the show. I can't believe it. We've got a 22-year-old girl from Kuwait that the whole world seems to know about. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know about you until a few days ago. So how does a guy like me that produces content on social media not know who you are?
Maybe because the content I post is more around lifestyle of a young girl, about fashion and beauty, and I don't think you would be interested in such.
So you think
such content?
You think maybe I'm not into fashion and beauty?
Not
you don't even know if I'm a metrosexual.
In a female fashion, no.
So you're 22 years old. You're from Kuwait. Mm-hmm. You're all over social media in ways that people only dream about. Mm-hmm. But there's brains behind this person, isn't there? Because you just recently studied law.
Mm-hmm. I just graduated.
And you graduated. Mm-hmm. And what was the driver for that?
So I grew up loving law, and I always wanted to be a lawyer. I grew up in a family of lawyers, and law is universal. It's everywhere. It's the way we're speaking now. It's the way we behave, the way this universe is working. It's all kind of governed by some kind of law. So I wanted to study law. I chose London because it's a city that is the hub of the world. And I love English law. I'm fascinated by the English legal system. So I moved to London 4 years ago. And on the way from LA to London, I became famous overnight. So How? Okay. So I had a high school sweetheart, puppy love. Yeah. And he cheated on me because he posted it's so embarrassing, a picture of holding a girl's hand. So I wanted to take revenge. So what's a better revenge than showing off on social media and showing your ex-partner that you're traveling around the world? So I was in LA and I was going around the States, and I was posting random pictures of me and poems about him. On the flight from LA to Kuwait, because I wanted to move my things from there to London, I arrived in the airport and the immigration officers recognized me. I didn't know what's going on. I went home. My father was going nuts because he doesn't like it. He's a traditional Kuwaiti. He doesn't like it when his daughter has her pictures and her videos all over social media. It's not really something that is acceptable in a conservative society. So apparently NBC, which is one of the biggest broadcasting channels, has taken my pictures and my poems and my articles and posted it on their platforms, calling me the Kuwaiti writer that looks like Brooke Shields. So I was trending as someone who's Kuwaiti but looks European or looks like a famous American model.
And was that a good thing for the Kuwaiti people to think that you might be connected, or that Brooke Shields might be secretly in ancestry Kuwaiti as well?
Well, I love her so much, but it was understood because I'm half Palestinian, so they will understand that the Palestinian blood has affected the way I look now. But so I became famous by mistake, by accident. I never planned it, I never wanted it, and I never wanted to be someone who has to work in the fashion or beauty or social media field. and but it happened, and I love it. I enjoy it. It is the new it thing, and yeah.
So you had essentially standard Instagram and Facebook and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
social media channels. You've fallen in love with someone. The boy's done the dirty on you. Okay, you found out, and so like any young person, how old are you when this happened?
19.
Okay, so I've got a 19-year-old daughter, so I can just imagine how she would react. I know her boyfriend George, so God forbid he ever does anything bad. So I know how she would react, which is very typical for someone who's young and just hasn't got a huge amount of experience in life. And so
No, but it wasn't bad. It was so lovely. Like, I was writing about him, like writing poetry about someone you love. It wasn't really aggressive.
So it wasn't
It wasn't aggressive.
It wasn't mean stuff. Okay.
The 6 months ago ex is the mean, aggressive social media scene that I unfortunately did.
So then, why did NBC pick it up? What was great about it for them? Do you think? What was?
You know what? I don't even know, and until this day, I don't really know who even told NBC about this girl that had 6,000 followers. Like, I don't even know how they found my Instagram or found my pictures, or how did they even talk about me without my permission? Because, you know, if you're not a famous person and someone just takes your pictures and publishes them,
yeah,
and millions are watching, at least you would tell them.
Yeah.
I wasn't even told. So
it just happened. You found out from a third party.
I saw it was all over the news.
How did you feel in that moment? Did you have a secret hint of excitement about it, or was there part of you saying?
No, it was scary.
Okay.
Because it wasn't a moment of fame. It was basically within a week you have 150,000 follower. Within a month you have 300,000 follower. In 4 years you have 4 million followers. So the big increase in numbers is just insane that your brain cannot really function with it. And
yeah, but hold on a minute. Over 4 years, there's a build-up. You start to become aware. At the beginning, you're not, though. At the beginning, it's kind of like, what's going on?
So the first year, I just moved to London, and I had no friends and no family. So imagine living in a foreign country, and the weather wasn't that great, and you just you're just going to school.
Wasn't that great? You mean it was lousy? It's England.
It was rainy, and it was shocking for me. I was in California, and then you're getting 10,000, 20,000 comments a day from strangers. Half of them love you, half of them hate you and are cursing at you and are calling you names. So imagine how I felt like, and I had no support system around me. So if I was in Kuwait by then, I would have family members who would support me and who I would go to and complain about whatever I'm going through. But I went through everything by my own, alone. It was hard, it was so challenging, I made so many mistakes, but
let's just stop here for a second.
I
want to go into a bit of detail here. You get people that write nice things, and we all like that, don't we? So it's nice people write nice things, and then you've got people that write bad stuff.
Yeah.
Now, you're seasoned and you're a pro now, so you know how to deal with it. But at the beginning, when you started to get some of that hate, how did it, 19-year-old kid, how does it make you feel?
So I've been bullied in middle school and in high school for not being the perfect size 0 or not looking like any other typical girl in school. And I was bullied in university in California. So, but I was never bullied, and I never faced trolls on social media. So for me, reading nasty comments about the way I look, or about being, for example, half Palestinian, or being too white, or being overweight, is not really the nicest thing you can go through as a 19-year-old. So I was just shocked. I was crying the whole time. I cut my hair really short because I hated the way I looked. I was eating unhealthy. I was not going to uni the first year. And it was just too much. It was the new city, being lonely, being abroad, and having social media all of a sudden all over you. So
How long did it take for you to adjust then? You said a year of not even going to uni that much. So you weren't benefiting from the education. You're feeling down on yourself. When did you get to a point where you started to say, hold on a minute here. There's maybe some value in this, and maybe I shouldn't take this poison and negativity maybe to heart like we all do at the beginning?
Yeah. So the first year I was doing my foundation year at King's College, and it wasn't really heavy studying, but I didn't really go to uni as much, and I didn't see the value of social media. I was just seeing, I'm posting a picture, it's either people will either like it or they will hate me. But within a year, I started to get emails from big brands, being invited to fashion weeks, working with brands that I've always wanted to work with, going to photo shoots. I had my own YouTube show with Maybelline. So within a year, when I started to work with a brand, when I started to meet wonderful, inspiring people through social media, I started to realize that, okay, social media is actually, it can be a great thing, it can be a great way to succeed, to accomplish, to build my own empire, to even make my own money and support my family and support myself while I'm studying and while I'm still enrolled in university.
What was the first brand that contacted you?
Maybelline.
And when they contacted, how did you feel? And was it a bit weird, you know?
I was over the moon. I was so happy.
Out of the blue, just came out of the blue.
Yeah, I got an email from L'Oreal Group that they have a YouTube series, a YouTube show with Maybelline, and they would like to have an ambassador for the Middle East and someone who can do the show. So I wasn't even comfortable with the camera. Like, I hated cameras. I love public speeches. I love speaking in the public. I love, but in an educational field, in school, and I'm still an A student. I love studying. I love anything when it comes to uni and school. But to be dressed up and people doing your makeup and doing your hair and having a camera and speaking to the camera and speaking to an audience, it was so nerve-wracking. But I had a wonderful team, and I still say that it was one of the best experiences of my life. And I'm forever thankful to it because I learned so much. I learned how to be professional, how to be committed, how to work as a team. So
lots of great skills that you essentially were taking on board at a young age. The first time you spoke to a group of people on a stage in front of them, that's a terrifying experience for anybody.
Exactly.
How do you feel that studying law, graduating essentially with a law degree now, makes you as a brand more credible, more valuable, more authoritative? Does it? I don't know.
Well, from my personal point of view, I think education does add value to you as a person, because when you meet someone that is educated, that worked hard 4 years to get this degree, then you know this someone is serious, this someone has a goal and has achieved their goal and has worked hard for this goal. They're not just someone who is laying on a couch doing nothing. So I love my degree. I would want to take it further and do masters and PhD and teach at uni. But at this stage, I would want to focus on social media and being a social media figure, because it is the time for it now, and it's better to use it.
Do you think social media will die, or do you think it's here to stay? You think it will die?
Yes.
What do you think will replace it?
I'm not sure, but just like how we had magazines and traditional media before, like TV and radio, now we have social media. In a couple of years, of course, we'll have another platform.
And when you look at the platforms that exist nowadays, we've got the standard ones that everyone knows about, and then you take something like TikTok, which used to be called Musical.ly, and you see the growth of an app like that. Are you always considering the new apps that are coming along and how you can be exposed on them?
I personally use TikTok.
Like my kids.
Yes. So I don't really like to engage in other platforms because I already have my own following and my own established empire on Instagram and Snapchat. But I do like to try other apps. But I think so far, Instagram is taking over everything.
My youngest daughter is 17, and I had her on my show one day, last Christmas actually, and we were talking about her using TikTok. And I'm like, why don't you use Facebook? And she said, Dad, it's just so complicated, and it's what old people use.
I don't even have Facebook, you know? I don't even have Facebook. I have a Facebook page that is run by my fans, but I don't have Facebook.
Do you, whatever you want to describe yourself as, if we take the facts, okay, you've become a business person.
Yes.
How do you feel about being one?
So I think being considered a business person is because, of course, based on me publishing a book, which is also kind of a business, having my own brand, working with brands, generating an income from that. I like it. I love it because I think it made me consider myself more mature and more responsible. I'm not an ordinary 22-year-old that just graduated from school and has nothing to do, you know?
So
I have responsibilities, I have commitments, I have contracts.
Yeah.
I have people that work behind me and make a living behind me, and I have a family to support, and I have people to support. It's a beautiful feeling because you get and you give back.
Tell me about Mum and Dad, because you said at the beginning of our conversation that Dad was, you know, conservative and traditional, and guess what? That's pretty much the norm for most dads, particularly when they look at their daughters and what they're up to. You become even more traditional and more, you know, I do with my daughters, it's like, you did what? Everyone else can do it, but you two can't. So when
Protective.
you look at you look at that relationship you had with your dad and the frustrations that maybe he felt at the beginning of this journey.
No, he's still frustrated.
Is he? Oh, okay. So he doesn't look at it now and say...
No, so now he would tell me, for example, he's more understanding, of course, because, you know, it's not his generation. Yeah, come tell a 50-year-old or 60-year-old that Baba's social media is actually a career. To him, it's either you're a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer. Baba's social media figure is actually a job that can make millions. It's actually a respectable job. He's still protective as any father. He cares. He has a fake account on Instagram. He goes and he reads the comments. And
he has a fake account to check what's going on with your comments.
Because he doesn't have Instagram, so he has a fake one. So whenever I see a comment with no picture, like a whatever name, like fighting with the followers, like shame on you, she's a very good person, and he's not even cursing, you know, he's like very, like a nicely structured sentence to the haters. I'm like, this is my father, block, and he would go and have another account and he would call me, be like, Baba, delete this comment. Baba, why would you post a picture with a mini dress like that? You know, girls are not supposed to be dressed like that. Baby, don't do that. So I love it, and I love that he cares, and I try as much as possible to go along with him and to show him that I do respect his wishes. At the end of the day, he's my father, and I'm no one today without him, you know?
I think that if I talk about my mum and dad, so my mum's 74, my dad's 74-ish as well. My mum is refusing to get old. So she won't have it, she won't tolerate it. She's Instagram crazy. She knows how to use it, and she knows everything that's going on with Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that. My dad, okay, has the accounts because my mum set the accounts up for him. He doesn't really understand it, so he spends his time writing inappropriate comments on people's posts because he thinks his comment's really funny, but it doesn't match it. And I look at the kind of, like, you know, I'm 49 years old, and you're, you know, a generation easily younger than me, and then you take my parents' generation, and I think that it's easy to assume that they've rebutted it, they've said this isn't for us. But when I see my mum being as obsessed with social media as she is, I'm like, you know, you're with the times, you know, you're moving with the times, you're accepting what's out there. When you look at your followers, are they all young people?
No. So, you know, now with the new updates on social media, you can actually see the ages of people that are following you. So, no, I have, mostly are young. From the biggest category is 24 to 35. But no, I have a lot of young ones, a lot of old ones. So
a lot of people would want to know how you grew this audience, because it's...
I don't know.
I know. You've already mentioned that. But for a lot of people, growing this follower number is like a really important thing. And they measure whether somebody has some form of worth based around the number of followers they have. Now, we see that Instagram are changing some rules at the moment with regards to likes that are showing up.
Yeah, they want to remove the likes.
And they have done in a few countries already just to test it. So it's being tested in Australia right now.
But you know, I think it's a business strategy by Instagram. I'll tell you why. Because when the likes are not there anymore, and the people cannot like it anymore, you will get less likes. You can see the likes if it's on your page. You can see it, but people cannot see how many likes you get. But I mean, you won't be encouraged to like a picture if there's no likes there. You won't care anymore. The brands care about the likes. The brands come and approach influencers not based on the following number, because it's worthless. You can buy followers.
Absolutely.
You can buy likes too. But they care about the engagement, how many comments and how many likes you get. So I think it's just a business strategy to try to cut down on whatever people are making through Instagram.
So as an entrepreneur and a successful young business person, as you are, in a very kind of like cool way, how does LinkedIn play a role?
LinkedIn? Okay, I had LinkedIn and I still have it. No, LinkedIn can help me, I think, in a more professional way, but I don't think social media fits there. I do have a profile there with all my like career achievements, the jobs I got, the internships, where I studied, but I don't really get any business through LinkedIn. I would get it, for example, oh, are you interested in getting an internship for this law firm? Are you interested in getting this marketing position, whatever, in this company? But I wouldn't get brands approaching me through LinkedIn. They approach you either through Instagram, like, hey, we want to collaborate with you, or through your email, because you put your email address on your bio. But I don't think LinkedIn has done anything for me. I'm sorry.
And is that maybe because you've sold yourself on the fact, or you've got great results from Instagram, so it's the better the devil you know, as opposed to maybe the devil you don't? Because the way that LinkedIn works at the moment is how Facebook worked 10 years ago. The organic reach is much bigger, and all of those brands that you talk about have CEOs and managing directors and presidents of those organizations, and all of those brands have corporate positions that are filled within them, and all of those people use LinkedIn too.
So you are right, but the fact is, the reality what's going on right now is that brands look at your pictures, how well you're doing on social media, and they approach you based on that. Because the brand wouldn't care how well structured is your LinkedIn if you have 2,000 followers on Instagram. Let's be honest. Like, so the brand, when they see on Instagram, this influencer is doing great, this influencer has a great sense of fashion, this influencer is, for example, in LA now, and we have an event coming up in LA. So Instagram is easier, and it's more of a daily platform, and let's say spontaneous and more closer to a human. LinkedIn, I think, is more professional. Everything you post is well studied of, right?
I think that what I've learned is that on Instagram, people leave much shorter comments. On LinkedIn, when people comment on something that you produce, then they give much longer form responses. So if I take a video that I've created, like a 1 minute micro we were talking about earlier, if I take a 1 minute micro on Instagram and then look at it on LinkedIn, the engagement on LinkedIn is more detailed. Because there's none of this thumbs up fires and that's
the category of people on LinkedIn are who? People, I think, who are well educated, people who can speak in a certain way.
That's you.
It's a certain category. I'm serious, because Instagram, Instagram is open to everyone. Everyone can have an Instagram profile, and you can add anyone, you can comment on anyone. LinkedIn, on the other hand, even if I go right now and I want to follow, for example, this person, it doesn't allow you unless you have certain interests in common, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of governed by some kind of policies.
Mm-hmm.
And not anyone can write a long comment and can discuss whatever you posted on LinkedIn, but everyone can look at a picture and say, okay, I like it, I dislike it. You look good, you're horrible. So Instagram.
What do you think when you create content, when you look at images and then you look at video content, what do you prefer to produce? And do you have a strict content strategy, or you're a kind of shoot from the hip type of girl?
So what not everyone know is that I don't really have a strategy. So I post whatever I do on daily basis. Why? Because I was busy with school. So when I was busy with school and I was abroad, I became famous because I was this inspiring girl who is Middle Eastern, but she lives by her own and she studies law, she does aviation on the side, and she's a social media star. But now that I graduated and that I have to take social media more seriously as a business, I think I should do more of well-planned content and have a strategy for it. But I still do think that we should maintain a spontaneous part of it, and we should still be real. And too much strategy and too much planning makes your content lose its human part of it.
Personal.
Exactly, and
yeah.
At the end of the day, remember, you became famous because people loved you as a human. People felt that they can relate to you, whether you're a young girl, you're a mother, you're whatever you are. So unfortunately, a lot of people forget that, so they start to get engaged too much in paid content and planned content and social media as a business, that they forget their personal touch in their content.
It's brilliant, you know, when you think about it. You became successful in terms of your numbers without planning. You shoot from the hip with your content to keep it organic and real in terms of how it feels. Most people on this planet that are trying to work out how to get all the sides of the Rubik's Cube in the right color relating to social media are digging deep to try and understand what is their own internal algorithm, regardless of the social media algorithm, to make this work. You know, people say to me, and my numbers obviously aren't anywhere near as big as yours, but people say to me, you're everywhere, okay? You don't stop producing content. And I get up in the morning and I'll have a sing and a dance, and I'm a terrible singer, okay? But I'll sing on the way to the gym in the morning. And there's people that say to me, yeah, but that content, you shouldn't really produce that type of content. And I'm like, says who? Says who? Because there's people out there that are like, if I don't do it, they're like, where were you this morning? Where were you at 5 o'clock? You're supposed to be singing that song on the way to the gym. So I find being as real as you possibly can be has really great positive impact.
Because people don't want to follow a robot. They don't want to follow Siri, you know? And one comment, doesn't matter what number you have on social media. Yes, I do have 3 million followers, but I don't really care about the number as much as I care about the kind of people that are following me. If I have 1,000 people that follow me, that are inspired by me positively, then I am happy. If I can make a change of 100 people's lives, then I am happy with that. So you shouldn't care about the number as much as you care about the quality of who is following you. And about the video when you're going to the gym, I think it's nice. I think it's positive. A lot of people, bear in mind, they're not maybe as lucky as you. They might not have what you have. You might see it as like a normal thing, going to the gym. A lot of people can't afford to go to a gym. A lot of people can't even leave their houses. A lot of people are not as happy as you were that morning. So seeing you and looking at someone else's life going well for them, they might make them happy. It might inspire them to get up and do work to afford going to a gym, or to afford having a car, or to afford being happy. So no, post whatever you think is cool and is.
You speak controversially on a few subjects, and that clearly hasn't come from strategy either. That's come because of how you felt in the moment about that. And there's people that have criticised you for that. And I've lived here in the Middle East for the last 15 years. I was here as a youngster as well, so I feel I know this place quite well, and I understand the difference that you have, and whether it's a benefit or not, the difference you have in the UK or in the United States to be able to say exactly what you want, just like Donald Trump has done over the last few days, much to everyone else's complete shock. When you have your feelings about certain issues and you share those feelings, do you give any consideration?
Okay, so I grew up in Kuwait, and in Kuwait we have freedom of speech and of expression as a constitutional right. So it's something that is there, and we're born with it, and we are living with it. So I was raised in a society where everyone can just say whatever they want. And moving to the US is the same thing, and then living in the UK is also the same thing. They all promote the same kind of freedom, that you are allowed to say whatever you think is right, as long as you don't hurt others. But I didn't consider, or I didn't know that, okay, you are Kuwaiti, you do live in the UK, but because you have followers that are from all around the world and from certain conservative societies, you're not supposed to really just say whatever you want. The opinions that were very controversial, I think what you meant is my political opinions. I said it because I thought it's human and that it's right, and I didn't really mean any harm by my opinions. And the opinions I said were out of love for the region I grew up in, and out of a belief that artists are not supposed to be politicians, and they're not supposed to be forcefully involved in politics, and that art should be a message of peace and should bring together countries and nations, not to tear them apart.
I suppose when you think about it, though, with 4 million followers now, you have the power to influence a lot of just, and something you could say, even without thinking of it, just something off the cuff could influence people. So you also have the power to give such positive influence to people as well.
But even though that message is positive, and I still think it is very positive, it's backfired. Because bear in mind, you're dealing with a lot of people that maybe are not educated, or maybe they're not as open-minded as you, or you're dealing with certain nations with certain laws that are not allowing their people to speak up or to give their opinions. So that made me think and know now that whatever I say on social media when it comes to religion, politics, and society in general should be studied, should be thought of well before, because it can backfire. It can make you lose a business at the end of the day, because a lot of brands will boycott you and will stop working with you because the last thing they want is a controversial figure that works with their brand.
It's interesting that you say that. The last thing they want is a controversial figure, but naturally, some of us, I'm one of them, says what's on my mind and says what I think, and has no fear in that. And because I naturally do that, that makes me controversial. And if you see my video content online, I lean into being controversial because I don't want to be vanilla. Out of 100 people, there's 30 people that are going to hate my guts. There's 40 people that they can see a piece of shiny paper and that's more interesting to them. And then there's 30 people that are like, yeah, we love Spencer. And it's those 30 people that I really care about.
Exactly.
The other people I couldn't give two monkeys about. But if I don't have a way of deciphering who those people are, and everyone falls into the same mold, then I have no way of positively measuring but also impacting people. And so when you think about what you do, 4 million people that follow you, most of them are like, yeah, right on, yeah. There's a huge number of people that think what you've got to say and what your opinion is and how you live your life is actually a pretty cool thing.
No, and I also have a lot of haters because let's put the political opinions on the side.
Park that. That's not relevant, yeah.
My lifestyle is controversial, but I don't fake it. So the politics, yes, we should put it on the side because it's not my field to speak about it.
Sure.
But the lifestyle itself.
Successful entrepreneur, law graduate, independent.
But Middle Eastern Muslim that lives in a country without a man, even in our Islamic religion, it is not allowed.
And for the traditionalists.
Yes.
Which is, again, a percentage of the population. It's not everybody.
Exactly. So a lot of people see me as this girl who's controversial, who's not giving the best impression about Muslim Middle Eastern girls. For me, I don't care. What I care about is that I give the best impression about not only Muslim and Middle Eastern girls, any girl in the world, any woman, that we can achieve. We can be so many things in a young age without a man. If we go back to the Middle Eastern kind of Muslim idea. So I love what I'm doing, and I wake up every day because I know I inspire a lot of young girls, and I don't have any problems with having haters that hate me for doing me.
I think you're doing a pretty good job, to be honest with you, and you should be very proud of yourself for all of the things at such a young age that you've achieved. It's certainly inspiring talking to someone who's as driven and focused and as accomplished as you. Crikey, you're 22 years old. I feel like I'm talking to someone the same age as me. Thank you so much for coming to spend some time with me on the show. I really enjoy the fact that you've just been really open with me. And Rawan Bin Hussein.
Thanks
for coming on the Spencer Lodge podcast.
You.